they seized 1/3 of the land and tried to convert all the Indians into Catholics. They seized a lot of land, right, and they also created an indentured servant system. So then the Napoleonic Wars happened in Europe, and it weakened Spain's infrastructure and allowed Mexico to try to gain their independence. And that led to the War of Independence in 1810. Miguel Hidalgo and Castillo proclaimed Mexican independence and raised an army of over 100,000 men. And Hidalgo was defeated at Guanajuato and executed. Men who weren't killed continued the war guerrilla style. The first leader of the free Mexican state was Augustine de Iturbide. Something like that.
Hello, my name is Augustus de Iturbide. I come to power in the early 1800s by tricking the Spanish government into granting Mexico its freedom. However, early on in my term as emperor, problems are growing and my country is soon becoming bankrupt.
I'm General Santa Anna, and the Mexican people will not stand for your tyranny. I'm General Santa Anita. I overthrew Emperor Augustine in 1823, and although I was never president of Mexico, I controlled the country from behind the scenes. In 1830, I fought the Spanish army looking to regain their lost territories. And I also led the Mexican forces in the Mexican-American War starting in 1848, where I defeated the Americans at the Alamo. I later lost Texas in the Battle of San Jacinto. I was exiled afterwards to Jamaica for 5 years, but I returned to sell Arizona and New Mexico.
Hello, I am General Benito Flores, and myself, along with the liberals of Mexico, will exile you once and for all.
I am General Benito Flores. During my time in power, I found no support from the United States because of the American Civil War. And because of this, there was great chaos and instability in Mexico. Because I found no support from the United States, Napoleon III was able to replace me with Prince Maximilian. However, 3 years later, Maximilian was exiled and executed, and I was back in Mexico City. In 1872, I supposedly died of natural causes.
I'm Porfirio Diaz, and this is the natural cause. I'm Porfirio Diaz, and you might be wondering why I have this beard from after I just killed the last president, but it's because I've been ruling for over 30 years. I'm the longest ruling dictator in Mexican history. But I'm not such a bad guy. Under my reign, Mexico became far more industrialized than ever before. There were thousands of miles of railroads created, sugar mills, electric generators, all that kind of stuff. But the only reason that happened was because I forced over 5 million peasants into solitude into work with my rural mercenaries. And this led to a lot of people being pissed off at me, including Zapata and others.
Diaz, my name is Modero, and in this year of 1910, I'm going to run against you in election.
You think you can beat me? I'll just rig the election.
Well, because of that, I'm calling for a rebellion, and I'm issuing my decree of San Luis Potosí.
Alright, whatever. Well, I rigged your election. I wonder where the rebellion is now. Viva Madero! Madero, the true president! We're letting you out!
Modero, I am Emilio Zapata, and I, along with the Zapatistas, do not like you anymore.
But it's only been 2.5 weeks since the rebellion. What's going on?
So, after Madero was taken out of the picture, General Victoriano Huerta took over in February 1913 after the 10 Tragic Days Rebellion. And since he took over, there were various attacks on him by Venustiano Carranza and the United States. This resulted in 1.5 million deaths. Carranza, Zapata, and Pancho Villa all raised massive armies, and then Carranza defeated the other two, and thus the new constitution was created in 1917. Shortly after that, in 1920, Carranza was assassinated as retaliation for Zabatta's assassination in 1919. And then a new guy, General Alvaro Obregón, became president, but he was assassinated in 1928, right?
Yeah, sounds right.
And Plutarco Elias Calles created the National Revolutionary Party in 1929, and that was renamed the PRI. Does that sound right to you guys?
Yeah, that's right.
All right, we got some information from a previous interrogation. Why don't you guys just take a look at that, read that off, see if that looks true to you guys.
All right, let's see. Cardenas was an Indian leader and a minister of war. He took over in 1934, which began his whole legacy. He was a populist who believed in Marxism. The highlight of his term was in the field of agriculture, where he reformed stuff and redistributed land. That sounds right. And he nationalized the oil industry and created Pemex to control it. And that launches into a whole issue later on. He also created the Confederation of Mexican Workers. And his retirement is basically the end of all the revolutionary period in Mexico. So he led to a lot of stability in Mexico. And then really not a lot happened after that. Just the PRI was in control of everything. They rigged all the elections and they had all the power. Miguel de la Madrid was the first leader to be dubbed a technicos, someone who had studied business or economy in American universities. And he was the first to do that, and a lot of other leaders would follow to do that. And he made democratic reforms in a market-based economy. Then there were some new parties also that formed around this time to challenge the PRI. Ernest Zedillo was elected in 1994, and a scandal tarnished him and the PRI. And because of that, it led to the PRI's main downfall in 1997, when they lost a lot of power. And then Vicente Fox won the presidency in 2000, and that goes into the whole politics thing that we'll talk about later.
Yeah, all right, I'm getting pretty tired, guys. I'm going to hand it over to Agent 2. I'm going to go take a break.
Thank you, Agent 1. No. I study Mexican politics at college, so I believe I know what I'm talking about here. And I found out that Mexico is not a true democracy because the PRI has controlled most of the elections since 1917. Do you guys collaborate with this? So for over 75 years, Mexico has controlled the Federal Election Commission and is governed all the elections. Therefore, the PRI has been able to win every single election.
Yep, 1994 was a good year for the PRI. We just got Zedillo into the office of president.
But what percentage of the vote did he actually win?
34.
Are you serious? At all?
Yeah, man. PRI, we rig things. That's how we win.
Ew! Here's the 75 years of corruption and dominance.
You know what else I love? Tax embezzlement and fraud. That's how I got my ping pong table.
Let's go play. The Institutional Revolutionary Party, or the PRI, has changed dramatically in the last few years. Although it once had a monopoly on the presidency, had a constant majority in Congress, and was so dominant that Mexico was a one-party system almost in the same vein as the old Soviet Union, PRI has been a state of retreat and confusion since it lost its majority in Congress in 1997. During its heyday, the PRI was not a political party in the liberal democracy sense, because it created less to compete for power than to decide how power would be shared.